last week of February 2017. Hi, folks. The news pertaining to the arrival of Planet X Nibiru and the Nemesis system is making major news headlines in 2017, and for good reason. It is the single most important news story that will affect the lives of every living organism on this planet. NASA knows this. They have known about its presence for almost 4 decades. And now it looks as if they want you, the amateur astronomer, to become a citizen skywatcher and search the skies for the mysterious and elusive Planet X or Planet 9, both labels referring to the same entity. The new NASA website called Backyard Worlds Planet 9 lets people comb through footage captured by the agency's Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer. Also called WISE, this mission was conducted just a few years ago. The footage shows objects gradually moving across the sky. According to NASA, there are too many images for them to search through by themselves. Astronomers believe the planet exists because of strange orbits of other distant objects that spin beyond Neptune. If Planet 9, also known as Planet X, is there and is as bright as some predictions, it could show up in the WISE movies taken in 2010 and 11. So here's the catch. If an average citizen spots something that leads to a discovery, he or she will get shared credit with the professional astronomers. This is your opportunity to have your name associated with the infamous planet that so many believe is associated with the extreme weather and earth changes that are now happening on Earth. This so-called citizen mission that NASA has concocted is ironic because it is NASA themselves who have denied its existence since 1982, when the planet was first discovered by an infrared satellite in the outer banks of the solar system, as was reported by the Washington Post and the New York Times. Is this just another ploy by the Space Administration to divert attention from what is really happening on the planet? why it is happening, and the source of the problems we know that face planet Earth? Take a look at this cartoonish video clip from NASA. While reviewing this footage, I came to the conclusion that this is more of an insult than an invitation for help in locating the planetary object. There is something very odd and very demeaning about their new mission to locate Planet 9. After all, NASA already knows that it is here in our backyard. So who will be the lucky he or she that will go down in the annals of time as the person whose name will be associated with the Death Star? While NASA is in the business of playing games, Skywatch Media is here to educate and inform. Whether you believe or refuse to believe in the existence of Planet X or Planet 9, or whatever you prefer to call it, really doesn't matter in the long run. Because whatever is coming our way will affect all of us, regardless of your mindset. Here are a few facts that NASA doesn't want you to know about. But irrespective of NASA's agenda, we will fill you in on what really matters. Have you heard of the electric body? People are electrical beings. Our emotions, our physical functioning, and impulses are initiated and controlled by an electric charge. Every cell in the human body functions as a tiny battery or electric circuit and is polarized. So as it turns out, when the atmosphere is electrically charged, in an abnormal way, the human body reacts by our emotions, hormones, and other internal electric signaling systems going haywire. This in turn can lead to extreme emotions and moods, and also physical illnesses. If we factor in the comet planet Nibiru and its effect on the Earth's gravitational field, this just could be why so many of us are feeling exhausted, emotionally distressed, depressed, and also developing any number of chronic health issues. Here is where NASA comes into the picture. Scientists today in every field of study are literally bending over backwards to ignore or refute any data that does not comply with their scientific view of the world. The Earth is actually a very young planet in comparison to other worlds out there. Its purpose is to provide a home and shelter for its inhabitants who were given stewardship over the Earth. NASA is of the interpretation that the Earth is many billions of years old, created by random chance, and that the solar system has remained a static entity for all that time. The reason that I tell you this is because this all fits into the theory of evolution and NASA's denial of the obvious and how it is affecting them now. One of the key answers to this lies in the whole subject of comets and how NASA explains how comets are formed and what they do in the world. So what is NASA's view of comets? In terms that each of us may understand, NASA's specific view of comets is that they are enormous dirty snowballs of frozen ice that basically disintegrate when they get too close to the sun or any other massive heat source. According to NASA, comets can do very little harm to Earth because they will melt before they get anywhere near us, and the only harm they could do is if they impacted Earth directly, which would be such a rare occurrence we don't have to worry about it happening for at least another billion years. Trouble is, the data NASA got from sending a probe up to photograph the interior of the Hale-Bopp comet back in the late 1990s completely disprove the dirty snowball theory. At the center of the comet, NASA discovered a huge lump of charred rock, not impacted ice as they had originally implied. That meant that a comet wouldn't completely dissolve away the nearer it got to the sun. But it also changed the whole picture about what comets actually are and what they potentially can do to planet Earth in such a fundamental way. NASA immediately tried to bury the data and then spin its implications into something more acceptable to orthodox science. So, folks, this is why it is so difficult to accept what NASA or any government-run agency is telling the public as being scientific fact. Simply put, they just cannot be trusted. Astrophysicist James McCanney has a much different perspective on what comets really are and what they can potentially do to planets. Some time ago, he worked at Cornell University and had access to raw data that was streaming into NASA at that time. He developed what is called the plasma discharge comet model, which is outlined here. Our solar system acts like one huge electrical circuit. The sun is a kind of enormous battery, with its negative pole at the surface of the sun and its positive pole pushed far out beyond the last of the planets in our solar system. The positive pole takes the form of a sparse nebular cloud of dust and gases. The sun generates what's called a solar wind that's made of an excess current of protons, and this solar wind leaves the sun and blows outward into space. These protons are what keeps the solar battery and circuit operating. Every star, planet, and other object in the galaxy similarly acts as a cosmic battery and also generates these fields around themselves. When an object shows up in the solar system and enters the field of the solar capacitor, they ignite a large discharge of plasma that appears to us humans as a comet with its flaming tail. The nucleus of a comet is negatively charged, which means it sucks matter, gases, and energy in towards itself, like an enormous cosmic vacuum cleaner. The comet's tail material is made up from the surrounding atmosphere, and comets tend to get bigger and build up as they go along, and they do not melt away. Small comets discharge the sun's energy in a small, localized way, whereas large comets can discharge the sun's whole solar battery power in a very short period of time. When that happens, it can be very dangerous because discharging the solar battery triggers violent solar storms, which can directly affect the Earth via our weather, for instance, and also directly affect human beings' emotions and physical health by disrupting our own inner electrical circuit. So the model by McKinney, in essence, brings us back to the comet planet Nibiru, which, like many comets, moves in an erratic and unpredictable way, which can explain why we can observe its movement at opportune times as being in many different locations in proximity to the sun. It makes perfect sense if you really think about it and accept McKinney's theory about comets and their effect on other planets. So the main point to remember here is that our solar system is dynamically electric and not electrically neutral, as NASA claims, and that comets interact with the sun, the Earth and Moon, and every other planet out there. Here is something else that you should know. When a comet first enters our solar system, its orbit is erratic and unpredictable, as its tail continues to gain mass and to slow it down. Eventually, one of two things will happen to the comet. It'll settle into some sort of regular orbit around the sun, or it'll become captured by a larger planet. Until either of these things occur, the comet can wreak havoc on the solar system and the existing planets. So how does a near miss with a large planet-sized comet achieve this according to the laws of nature. The sun produces far more electric energy than light energy. The Earth has a huge vertical electrical field that is sustained by the sun's electrical power distribution system. The current of this field is stored in the Earth's ionosphere, and the air in our atmosphere is what is called dielectric material. Usually, the Earth's magnetic field protects us and buffers us from the sun's energy. When the electrical conditions in our solar system start to change rapidly as the result of an additional body starting to engage the sun and increase the amount of charge going into and out of the solar battery, the electrical fields and currents that we're subject to here on planet Earth start to go haywire as the sun discharges more and greater solar flares. When something like a large comet approaches our solar system, as soon as it reaches the outer edge of the planets, the solar system's electricity starts to ratchet up to much higher levels. More electrification equals more energy in the Earth's atmosphere and the Earth's oceans, equals more evaporation of water, equals more haze in the atmosphere. In turn, this triggers off a bunch of climate change phenomena, like extreme weather, changes to the Earth's magnetic field, earthquakes and volcanoes, hurricanes and tornadoes, changes in human moods, feelings, emotions, and health. That brings us to magnetic fields, which require an electric current to generate. And the electric current needs a battery to power it. The battery for the Earth's magnetic field is the nuclear fusion that's occurring at the top of the solar atmosphere. Our Earth's magnetic field is made up of many layers, some of which are stable, but most of which are variable and highly affected by what's occurring in the atmosphere around them. The variable part of the magnetic field can be temporarily reversed or flipped for short periods of time as a result of massive solar storms or comets that are passing very close to the Earth. Every planet, moon, comet, or object in the solar system generates some sort of magnetic field as a result of its electrical interaction with the sun, including our own moon. That's why new moons have the biggest impact on the Earth's weather. Maybe this is why our own moon is starting to be so much noticeably brighter, as it's also picking up and reflecting all this additional electrical charge in the atmosphere from the approach of the comet planet Nibiru. Planet Earth's magnetic field diverts the solar wind. That current of electrically charged photons that's constantly streaming our way from the sun, from the planet. The closer a comet of size comes to the sun, the more electrical discharge starts to happen, which causes more energy in the solar atmosphere, leading to more and stronger solar flares, which in turn can affect or alter the Earth's magnetic field structure, leading to crazy weather, climate change phenomena, and even crazier people. Now, this is where everything begins to become even more dramatic. When a large comet comes close to the Earth, it can literally change everything, including shifting the poles. There are two main problems a large, close-passing comet can cause, aside from major climate and Earth changes. And here it is. It can cause the Earth's poles to permanently shift to a different location, instantly plunging those new polar regions into the deep freeze. It can set off a massive gravitational wave that could literally ripple through the Earth's mantle or crust, causing mountain ranges to instantly spring up from the ground or the sea in some areas, while plunging other land masses permanently into the ocean. So, in quoting from James McCanney, the only process that could cause a shift or rotation of the spin axis of the Earth's mantle is a gravitational wave set off by a large passing comet. So again, this interpretation makes considerable sense. As a large comet passes close to planet Earth, it starts to pull at the Earth's atmosphere and tug on our magnetic field. If the pull from that passing comet is strong enough, it'll trigger tidal waves across both the world's oceans and the Earth's mantle. If the Earth's crust was sufficiently moved by the gravitational wave, that could have the effect of moving the poles to a different part of the planet. If that happened, the number of days per year would change, the seasons would change, and our existing calendars simply wouldn't work anymore. Whole continents could disappear overnight, and new ones could rise to replace them. This is already beginning to take shape, just as it has been described here. All of the aforementioned consequences of a passing comet planet brings us to the destructive effects of the comet's tail. As that negatively charged comet nucleus roars around the solar system, it starts picking up more and more stuff which it carries along with it as its tail. That tail can contain gases like oxygen and hydrogen, naphtha, which is an oil, and even showers of meteors which typically contain metal ore and are attracted to the comet as a pin would be attracted to a magnet. The larger the comet, the larger its negatively charged field, and the bigger the meteor rocks it can pull along with it. Passing through a large comet's tail would block the sun, would change the composition of the atmosphere, would affect the magnetic field, and would lead to flooding all over the globe on a scale that is hard to imagine. McCaney estimates that it would take approximately 40 days for the planet Earth to move through a comet tail that was 20 to 40 million miles across, which the tail span of the comet planet Nibiru is considered to be. So if you're thinking that 40 days sounds familiar, you're correct. In summation, this is what happens when a large comet or a comet-like planet enters our solar system. With a fairly close approach, we can anticipate the following, which is increasingly taking place as we speak. If the comet planet approaches at a steeper angle, bringing it that much closer to Earth, we can then expect a gravitational wave of energy that will violently shake the Earth's crust, leading to a major shifting of continents. So there's much to contemplate here and to pray for. Keep in mind, NASA will not talk about this because they theorize that our planet is billions of years in the making and that big changes only occur over billions of years. But as we know, the truth is very different. It's described in many places and in many teachings. And if you're someone who searches for truth, then you are bound to find it, because truth be known to those who are open to believing that all things are possible, even those things which may appear on the surface as highly unlikely to happen. Be sure to check out our Facebook page for the latest information on Planet X, as well as updates pertaining to erratic weather and sky anomalies. In the meantime, stay safe and keep looking to the sky.